let's say you are coming a complete new set of requirement, and then I can build it, because that's the way I am doing it right now. Instead of creating a database through MySQL, here we are creating under the HANA DB. So that part is
Exactly.
clear. I'm just worrying about like existing scenarios. Like I think so, SAP has inbuilt called module. I think so, material management kind of,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and other things as well. So how it will work with this existing scenario? That was my, question. Like
How I
because
can
anyway,
consume, how we can consume any external OData service. For example, if it has been configured, or I can say developed onto on-premise system. That's your question.
if it has already a database created inbuilt, because um,
Mm-hmm.
in the Fury Launchpad, I think so, I can enable any module, inbuilt module, basically as
Yeah,
a Fury
you can.
application.
Right, right. You
Uh,
can.
and then it has some tables structure, and let's say I
Mm-hmm.
need to create a custom API to merge those adjoint queries or something like that, two tables, and expose as a single response in this case.
Hmm.
So
Okay,
that's the
there
scenario.
is
Like,
there is one scenario which we are I mean we are going to cover today. That's the part of the agenda. So the scenario that we will be covering is I'll just walk you through that as well. This one, I mean, I can say CAP is quite big because it's connected to open source. So the idea is that the more you explore, the more things you will be able to understand. That's how it works. So let's just say as a part of this, we have also considered that particular flavor as well. So for example, one of the scenario, it may be a kind of a bit of what you are asking and bit of some generic scenario as well. So for example, I have some CAP application which I am developing over here, and I say that maybe there are X number of data which I am creating. For example, I am creating some sort of a order for XYZ purpose. For that, the supplier I would like to have should come from some sort of a supplier master data. Okay. And this particular supplier master data is something which I don't want to rebuild because I already do have my supplier and everything available in one of the system. Okay, let's just consider that particular system as one of the on-premise system box which I have, because my all the business partner management, vendor management, everything is being done in my S4 HANA system, for example. And now idea is I do not want to recreate it, rather I would like to utilize it. So what are the way out that I do have? So in simple term, right? So if I'm developing some CAP application, the idea is that you can develop any sort of a data model, you can develop any sort of a services. The moment I say you are developing some data model and services, what you will have is some sort of an entity. Now, if I say I'm developing some sort of an entity, then in that particular case, if I have multiple options, like I can say a centralized DB we are talking about that you are creating on S4 HANA cloud. There can be some entity that you are creating natively into in your CAP project. Another one could be that there are some data over here and you would like to connect this one over here so that it also becomes one of your entity and you can consume it as if it's your native entity going forward. So that data can also be utilized rather than you always, let's just say, creating a new set of data, because maybe S4HANA comes up with all the processes that maybe we are discussing, SD and all the processes, and you would like to utilize one of them. So in that case, the communication architecture is established in a way that in particular CAP or in BTP, exactly, we have, let's just say, applications that we are developing. If there are certain processes which are available, for example, on my S4 HANA system over here, I would like to connect to that, and which ideally is connected by means of two things. I can say technically in the terms of a BTP architecture, they are connected by the means of cloud connector plus destinations. These are the two means with the help of which we can connect any existing S4 HANA system into my BTP. That's from a BTP perspective. After that, if I would like to connect any such, okay, so what we are saying is from a BTP perspective, these are the two terms, these are the two things that we'll need. After we have connected any S4 HANA system, I would like to also connect any services which are available on that box. For example, this particular box is having some sort of a business partner service, and I would like to connect to this particular business partner service so I can utilize this business partner data. I can get the data and I can use it wherever I want. Then what are the alternatives that are, what are the way out that I do have? Then CAP comes up with a two kind of services for that. BTP being your platform, CAP being your programming language. So these are two things which are bit different, but I can say CAP is part of a BTP. So that's what we should be very clear about. In case of a CAP, what we have is we have two services. We have two services, destination service. We have destination service and we have connectivity service. And this particular destination and connectivity service are the one that we are going to use in order for us to connect to any such services that we want. Post which what we'll do is once we have connected to that, we'll be able to get we'll be able to connect to any service, and then this part by consuming that particular service, we'll be able to create one entity which will be deriving a data from an external service. Once it becomes a native entity, I can use it anywhere I want. For example, if I would like to get one field out of which and maybe have it over here in any existing entity, I can do that. On top of it, if I would like to add any sort of association, if I would like to expose, or I can say use that entity as sort of a value help so that I can store the same set of a data on my DB table, I can also do that. So these how we can achieve that, and these are the steps that we are anyway going to follow practically. Okay, so that's the agenda that we do have for today. Um, okay, Krishna, I also see you in the call. Hey, hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning,
So,
Sumit. Due to
so
network problem, I joined it.
yeah, no worries. That's fine. So ultimately, we were discussing of certain scenarios of CAP, like how we can connect to any S/4HANA box, and what are the way we should be connecting to it. So that's one of them. So pose this maybe, or I can say, let's say, I guess we are just going theoretically. Uh, by the time I guess we were discussing that during this initial session, maybe we'll also try to help out with any of the doubts or queries that you guys do have. So you have anything that you would like to discuss right now, or how would you like to go for it?
Uh,
No, I think
Sumit, can you discuss like,
um,
yeah, yeah, Anil, go
this
on.
one. I mean, I know you are going.
Sorry, Anil.
Yeah, so
Hello.
this one, I think so. You are going. Yeah, you can hear me.
Hey, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah. This
Yeah.
one, this
So
scenario is
I'm
something anyway. Yeah, yeah, Anil. So this one, a scenario that we are discussing, is anyway a scenario we have covered, and there is a new topic that we are having as an agenda of today's session. So we are anyway going to discuss this. So these not these maybe a doubt. Maybe I guess you are thinking openly. That's maybe reason we can consider it as a doubt, but that's also a new topic. We are going to cover it right now. Okay.
then I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, Krishna. You had some doubt you
So,
mentioned earlier. Yeah.
yeah. So, Sumit, I have one doubt, like theoretical doubt. Okay, and practical also. 1 minute. I have noted down. So, Sumit, I'm audible.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So, Sumit, I have one doubt. Suppose that in like if you're talking about S4 HANA or ERP, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, suppose that we have one O data service. Suppose that, okay.
Mm-hmm.
From that O data service, we can develop multiple application, Fury application, right?
Correct. You can.
Correct. Yeah. But in CAPM, suppose that if we are creating any CAPM application, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
in DB, we need to create table and we need to create entity set, right? Services.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Through that services, we can use into our UI in app
Correct.
folder, right?
Yeah, you can.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So suppose that we have a scenario from same O data service, okay,
Mm-hmm.
from same entity set, if we want to develop another application, okay,
You can have more than one
okay,
applications created out of one single OData service, that APP folder can contain more than one application at a time. So that APP is just a folder which can be used for different purposes. One purpose we already have seen. The purpose of that was to create an app router for authentication purpose. That's one. Other than
Hmm.
that, when we go via manage app router, this same APP folder will allow you creating an application. So for example, there is authorization, but I can say orders. Then I can say manage sales order, display sales orders, and let's just say sales order dashboard. All those things I would like to create connected to my same OData service. That's doable, and all those applications will be lying in my single APP folder. But while deploying, the
Okay.
moment you deploy it in
Yeah.
your MTF the moment you deploy it, it will create those relevant applications under relevant HTML5 application. If you have created and deployed 3 HTML5 application, you will see 3 of them in your HTML5 block, post which you will be able to configure all 3 of them. So the idea is from a code, let's just say collaboration perspective, you will see as if it's a single code block, but that's not the case. The idea is APP folder, it's just a folder repository. Within that, you will have your all the applications residing in the form of a folder. Each folder represents a separate application. Code based perspective, you will see they are communicating to each other, but actually they are not communicating to each other. They are communicating to the deployed version, deployed instance of your CAP service. Okay, so in a if I
Okay.
have a CAP service, I can go ahead and create n number of Fiori applications. So we have a Fiori application creation as a part of let's just say session that follows, maybe in the 10th, the last session. Maybe if possible, maybe we'll create 2 applications at least, so you will know how I can create not only one but 2 application out of this APP folder, and how I can deploy, and both of them can behave as a 2 separate tile. I hope that's also out, right?
Okay. 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 So suppose that I have scenario. Okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating through same OData service. I'm creating CUD operation for application, and okay. And
Mm-hmm.
from that OData service, I want to after like few days. Okay. Like client told like we can develop one dashboard for me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same application in the same like project we come and we need to create new application in app folder, right?
We
And we
can,
can
you
use
can,
and we can deploy. We
you
can
can,
deploy.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
you can do that. So the alt there are 2 alternatives to it, I can say. Look, you can do that. So
Mhm.
the idea is, if you are developing a application, you have a CAP project over here. What you can do is you can have your CAP project, which will have its service, for example, running somewhere over here. Consider this as a DB and service folder, and this is your APP folder. This APP
Yeah.
folder can contain more than one application at a time, and you can connect both of them together so that they can communicate to each other, and this becomes one of your scenario. So in this case, what I can think of is your DB and SRV are over here, and your application 1 and A2 are application 1 and application 2 are over here. Both are communicating to your same service. Other scenario could be the one which we also discussed. That's also one of the approach that you can go for. Here you will have
Mhm.
one CAP service that you would be creating, another CAP service that you would be creating. This particular 2 CAP service can have their own set of a DB, SRV, and APP folder. Okay, and in this APP folder, I can consider I'll have a A1, and in this one, I can have my same DB, SRV, and APP, and here I can have my A2. Because when I say I'm creating one application which is a transit CRUD application, right, it means I might need operation where I would expose an OData service which will have my create, read, update, delete operations. But when I say dashboard, definitely it's going to have some read only operation which are getting the data, aggregating it in a form of some sort of analytical form, and I'm
Mhm.
displaying in the form of a OVP or ALP, whatever you are thinking of. But the
Mhm.
data, as you are going to have 2 application, in this case it makes sense for you to go with a centralized database. In this centralized database, you will ultimately create your DB. All the database transactions which are being done in this CRUD application will store the data over here, and the one which is going to create a dashboard will get read the data from here. In a way, this we'll have three database container, one native to this, one native to this, and one centralized. But the idea will be tomorrow, let's just say if you're coming back also with third
Mhm.
application and you would like to restrict, saying your OData service should not expose the capability that it's not meant for. So for example, out of your analytical app, if you create both the application out of a single service, that application's OData service can also be misused for some other purposes as well. If you are creating just one entity endpoint, if you are creating another entity endpoint, for example, two entity, then you can also have it as a part of single service, and you can define, okay, capability, I'll just give insert capability for the DB manage application, and only read capability for the one which is having a display application. That's something you can restrict. But modularization perspective, these two are the approaches. You can go for either of them, whatever you would
Yeah.
like to have. Okay.
Okay. So Sumit, in Central DB, okay. Suppose
Mm-hmm.
that we have created from HANA folder, right? We have created
Ha.
one more
Ha.
yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
DB space. We have created DB HANA, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Central
Mm-hmm.
DB. So in that one we have defined fields, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whenever you are using that central HANA database in our different application, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On that time we have we have defined all the fields, right, in
Mm-hmm.
DB,
Mm-hmm. You
right?
have.
On
Okay.
that time, yeah. So suppose that we have already created one like table, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
So in if suppose that if we are using same central HANA database, okay,
Mm-hmm.
in our
Mm-hmm.
CAPM application, so we need to define table or
No, you are not supposed to define the table. That's something we covered in our third or fourth session, right? You can
right.
simply
Yeah, yeah,
go
yeah.
by CDS
Persistent.
persistent
Yeah,
exist, and what
yeah,
you
yeah.
can do is out of 30 fields, if you want only three fields, just add those three fields in your entity. What it will do is it will internally
Right.
create a view which will connect to this table via
Mhm.
by the means of mediator called synonyms, right?
Okay. So but in like in that on that video, okay, in SRB we have created one like entity set, right? On that we have defined all the fields.
Yeah, because the SRV is connected to the data entity that you are defining. So for example, if I have 30 fields which I have defined over here, right? Out of
Mm-hmm.
30 fields, maybe my DB over here will contain some, for example, this particular DB that we are talking about, right, may contain some sort of a data model file. Now, this particular data model over here .cds can
Mm-hmm.
contain an entity which can have, for example, xyz, and here you will have, let's just say, a key, and you will have, for example, f1 as, for example, some sort of a data type, plus
Mm-hmm.
f2 as some sort of a data type. That's all. Afterwards, okay, some sort of a data type, and here what you will have is you will have
Sorry.
so here you will have CDS persistence exist. Okay, and here what you will have is that the moment
Mm-hmm.
you say it exists, the next time you the next step for you will be expose this as a service. The moment you say you are exposing this as a service, you are not connected to this, right? You are instead saying that I am using a data model, right? You are saying on your top that I am
Mm-hmm.
using a data model which is defined on your DB folder. That's what you ideally say. And as you are saying that,
Mm-hmm.
you are creating an entity, you are creating a service, for example, SRV, and afterwards you are creating an entity, and this entity ABC is saying s select from my db.xyz. Now in this xyz I only have two fields, right? I don't care about 30 fields that are defined. In my application scope I need just two fields, so I have exposed that, and in service that's what I'm connected to. I am never connected to my actual db in that case, right? Because a db is a centralized persistence layer out of which all the synonyms and view are connected, created, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if my service never knows that I have 30 fields, it only knows the field which I am exposing. Even though I don't need 28 field, I'll just ignore it. My service won't expose
Yeah.
it. Even the consumer won't know that there are more fields than the one I need.
Okay. And suppose that I want to add extra field, then we can add, right?
You can, I mean, your DB is a
Yeah.
centralized
Mhm.
DB. It's feel simple. Like for example, my purchase order
So
application is being created.
Mhm.
I, on top of the fields which are there, I would like to add five more fields. I might add it as a part of some sort of a structure. Here,
But
it's your table. You can directly add it over here.
yeah, but Sumit, in on that, on that time I was practicing. Okay, so like I have used Central HANA database. Okay, so
Mm-hmm,
in Central HANA database we have defined like a GUID. Okay,
mm-hmm,
name and
mm-hmm,
everything, and like okay, here I have added in our application in SRB level. Okay, in DB level. Okay,
mm-hmm,
on I have created one entity set. Inside entity set I am using the Central HANA database one. Okay,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and I have added one extra field in like
You
in
can,
DB folder.
you
You
cannot.
can, right? No, but in like metadata level, it is showing like
No, no, it is showing, but the moment you build or deploy, it's failing, isn't it?
no on
So look,
build.
the thing is, if I say that I have a table over here which says 30 fields, okay, and you have such list of 30 fields. Now here you are defining F1, F2, out of which you are also defining one more field called X1, which is an extra field for you, okay, which is not available in this one.
Array.
Now what you would like to do is you would like to add this field over here, but what you are saying it exists. If it exists, definitely you cannot add this field over here until and unless you don't add this field in the centralized DB, because this field does not exist, right? Are you getting my point?
Hmm.
Something that
But
exists.
Sumit, yeah, I'm getting. Hmm.
Yeah,
But
please go
on
on.
that then I have added last name for
Hmm.
checking. Okay,
Hmm.
so it was showing like also.
Yeah, I mean, let's just think from a perspective. For example, you have two fields added over here, two field you have exposed. Now the third field you are not adding in the centralized DB. That's what you are saying, right? Or you are adding third field in the
Hmm.
centralized
Hmm.
DB.
No, 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 not in centralized DB.
You are not adding
I'm
it over
adding.
there, adding it directly
Mhm.
over here, right?
Yeah, directly into data DB
Data
folder.
model. Then it
Yeah,
will fail.
data model.
I mean, if
One. Uh,
if it's working, definitely it does not have got any persistency, as you can see. Because if I say this is not going to have
mhm.
any table underlying table on top of it, correct?
Okay.
This is
1 minute.
connected to this one.
Mhm.
This is a view. Internally, it is a view. It is not going to have any persistency other than this database table. So even if you are having a field which somehow work, which logically, technically, I don't think it will work. It will work. It will always fail at the deployment layer. But if it would have worked, where this data of x1 will be stored, because my x1 is not going to create a separate table. You said it exists, it's not going to create a separate table. Instead, if it tries to save that in your DB, which does not have a
Mhm.
field, it means this x1 data, whatever data you are entering in x1 will be gone. You will lose that data some or at other point, right?
Yeah. Uh,
Make
Directly
sense?
is right. Yeah, it makes sense. So that's why this is my like doubt now. Like on.
Maybe if you
Uh,
have that scenario, if you have that scenario in your system, you can show it to me. But I really, I'm pretty sure it won't work,
okay.
because you are
1 minute.
saying it exists, and when you say it exists,
Mhm.
it's definitely it will look for all those fields, right? If it's not there, why would it
Right. Right.
anyway allow?
Mhm. 1 minute. No, I'm opening. Okay.
Okay, maybe you can look for it. We'll spend few more minutes, maybe 10 to 15 minutes for let's just start solving, post which will again proceed with one topic. Then maybe we'll see if there is something else maybe we are also supposed to discuss, right?
Okay.
Or
Sumit, are you
maybe
able
we
to
would
see my screen?
one sec, not yet. Yeah, now I can.
Okay. Smith, and I have that doubt now, like in MTA. Okay, if I'm
Mhm.
adding like central HANA database, so it is showing not deploying times. It is showing error.
No, but that's the thing maybe you would like to view. Is your database running up and running currently? Can you proceed with the deployment right
Mm,
now?
yeah, 1 minute.
Show me your code before that. Let's just go in
Yeah,
VS.
1 minute.
Okay. Let's just go in MTA first. Text
Yeah,
data.
yeah.
Scroll down. Wait. The service name cloud. Okay, that's fine. The service name over here. Key employee DB. Now let's just go in your DB folder in SRC in the synonym. Okay, fine. Can you go in the grants? Employee DB grants. Central employee.hdb grants. The first file in the synonym. Why have you used employee underscore DB whereas you're in your MTYML it says employee hyphen DB? Both are different, isn't it?
Oh, 1 minute. Okay.
You can define anything, but at least these two should match, right?
This one, right?
Yeah. Can you go in synonym file? Can you go to the DB folder, DB project, or it's there in the separate one?
This one, DB.
No, no, the one which you are consuming, right? It means the HDI something that you mentioned. I hope the container
Okay,
name is
okay, okay.
correct, right?
Yeah, container name is correct.
Maybe I guess that was the main issue why it says that okay, it does not find because I think the message that you also shared onto the chat, it was saying employee underscore DB not found, isn't it? And that underscore DB was the one that you define in
Mhm.
grant, but that exists nowhere.
Okay, 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 okay.
Okay, try deploying this. Maybe I guess once the DB is up, I think it should work now.
Yeah. And Sumit, what is instance and what is subscription? Like, suppose that
So
if in an interview, if anyone is asking what is instance, what is subscription?
So ideally, subscription is you are getting that service and you can create n number of instance of it. Okay, so for example, I am getting a subscription of HANA Cloud. On that HANA Cloud, I can create the n number of child of it, which is a container of it. But when you say instances, for example, I have one running service instance that becomes an instance. Okay, so subscription
Okay,
as in you are getting it for particular time duration, you have it. Okay, instance as in that's
mhm.
one of the instance that's available. If you create any other, that becomes an another instance. Both will behave as an individual microservice. In case of subscription, that's a parent microservice which can have n number of sub services. I can say sub microservices which are running as a part of it.
Okay, okay. Oh, 1 minute, yes. May I deploy this one? Like,
You can try deploying that, but I think
okay,
it your HANA Cloud
okay,
will
okay.
take some times in order for it to be nice up
Maybe,
and
yeah,
running.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So Sumit, we can proceed with like today topic. So, like
Mhm.
at last, I will try. Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
Wait.
just one thing from it. Since you mentioned instances, I think so. Can we relate it with the dev instance, QA instance, and prod instance, something like that? Is it nearly
Uh,
same?
Dev instance, QA instance, and prod instance in the terms of a service, yes, but the instance that we are talking about, dev, quality, and production, if we are talking about the client,
Yeah, I'm
then
talking about
this
that one.
instance is
Okay,
then that instance is relevant to sub account. Right. Each sub
okay.
account you can consider it as one of your clients. So that instance is different. But if I say I have same service running in three different environment, then those
Mm.
running services in three instances can be considered as a one service instance in each of the sub account.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, maybe you can try deploying that maybe after some time. Okay, I'll just start sharing my screen meanwhile.
Only I'm showing you like that one, that name. So
No, no, I
I
mean, you can just verify. My idea is that that should match. Okay, I mean, uh, I mean,
okay.
it's just a 4i principle which works that whenever you're developing many a time, I may not be able to figure out the error which I am doing, but my friend will be able to easily figure that out, right? So that's the thing. So just
Right.
re-verify whether that names are matching because these are the kind of sanity check we ideally will need before we anyway deploy because these are the mandatory things.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, yep. Then I'll share my screen and maybe we'll proceed with one of the example, one of the things that maybe we'll plan covering in this session. Okay, so let's just say the first thing that we are going to cover in this session is the connection to my on-premise system, how that works, plus the service consumption. Let me just give you an idea. So for example, I am having, let's just say some SAP system. Okay, let's just say I'm opening this. You can have your own system as well. Now, for example, I'm looking for one service, right? So when I say I've created one service, or let's just say there are some standard service I would like to use. So for example, there is some service called business partner service. Mm, So for example, I have one business partner service available over here. And this business partner service would ideally give me all the data of my relevant business partner, right? That's one of the available business partner service available. You can create your own set of OData service and you can also use that. That's also quite fine. For example, I would like to check this out, how it works. So I'll just click on this SAP Gateway client right now. And as you can see, it just came up with a full path over here. Okay. And I'll just simply say I would like to get some sort of a data, or let's just say service metadata out of this. So my service metadata out of this will be looking like somewhat like this. Okay. Maybe let's just directly look for the data instead. But it just okay. So for example, let's say if I do have some data for my business partner somewhere, I'll just go over here. Okay, so it picked some business partner and it's showing me some sort of a data. Now where it would be showing it from? So definitely there will be some underlying table for that, right? So business partner is coming from some sort of a table, BUT 000, which is a standard business partner table. Likewise, I can create some more data service which can expose the data of something else. So I can see BUT 000. I have some sort of a data available over here. The name of it that we are seeing, for example, let's just say currently it's working on what 17 ending with 010. Somewhat we should also have somewhere over here. This is the one. Maybe this is what it is showing. Likewise, it has n number of all other business partner. It's also showing at the same point in time. Now I would like to use this business partner data. I would like to, let's just say first step, I would like to expose this out of my CAP service. Now, anything which is on my on-premise box, anything which is on my S4HANA box, SAP is quite famous, quite, let's just say, um, sensitive when it comes to security topic. It ensures that all the things are secure because data is the most secure and I can say valuable thing that it always thinks of, right? So if I have created an OData service, it allows in case of an SAP environment, I would like to use that. But within the SAP environment, it means this SAP GUI box. Outside of that, for example, I would like to use it in my WebDentro application, Fiori application, or any other SAP generated service as well. For example, a CAP service. I would like to use that. I have to ensure that that particular service is exposed. How we can make sure that I should be able to see that service in the SICF node. SICF is nothing but a services. Any service that it would like to be exposed outside of my system, they'll always create a node in my SICF services over here. So if I just execute this, here what we'll see is that, for example, we are talking about a business partner. So I'll just simply say API. I'll just apply a filter. I can see that under my OData, okay, let's just say if I have that open, yeah, here it is, right? It says SAP OPU OData SAP business partner. That's where it, this is the node at which these particular these services lying, right? So if I just go over here, uh, maybe somewhere over here, SAP uh, OPU OData SAP, and I can see the SAP business, API business partner. So this particular path that you see is the path at which my service, this particular service is being served right now. As this service is being served over here, it means I can now use or consume this service at this particular point, at this particular path, SAP OPU OData path. If that's something which may not be there, I won't be able to use this particular service, because then I can think that this particular service is never exposed. Okay, so we just verified that our service is up and running. It is showing some data while I execute it in my on-premise system. Plus, I can see a SICF node also created for that. It means this particular service is also, let's just say, serving somewhere. So I can see that particular thing as well. Now let's just go over here and say I would like to call the service in my browser. As you can see, it says some sort of a path is also getting generated, and maybe each of the system might be quite secure. So definitely we may or may not be able to use this, because anybody is also kind of one of a borrowed server. So it may or may not allow me to connect to this directly. So here I may or may not be able to use that. But instead, if I would like to try that out, what I can do is I can simply get to my server vendor, and I have asked them what is the path on which this particular service, what is the path on which your whole SAP box server is actually being served, right? So for example, this S4 dev is a kind of nothing but a virtual name they have provided, but there can be actual some IP addresses and anything that might also play some sort of a role over there. Okay, so those are the things that we might need to take care of. So for example, these are SAP box. I would like to connect to this. That's the first thing that maybe we'll try out, right? So what we'll do is, in order for us to work on this, is we'll simply go over here and I'll just go in my remote desktop for now. If you have your SAP box available natively on that, you can also try that out. So for example, I'm going over here and I'm saying that I would like to open my box into which my actual SAP system is there, because here I would like to do some sort of a setup in the form of a cloud connector. I'll just minimize everything. And what I would like to show you is that here I also have some same sort of SAP box. There is a SAP system which was there. I just configured it in by providing some sort of a setup which was provided by the vendor. Now what I see over here is, if I just go over here, it's the same. It's connected to the same one, so it ultimately shows this one. I'll just close this and maybe I can see that the same box is being served over here. Okay, maybe I can say BUT000 and the same data, because it's the same short of that's the same system. I am just connected via a remote desktop or this one, either of the cases. Now, what I would be interested in doing is I would be interested in connecting to this system from somewhere. Okay, now where that somewhere will be coming from? That somewhere will be nothing but the name which my let's just say provider would have given it to the system. So for example, if I just say UI2 FLP, maybe some sort of a launchpad, if they would have configured, I'm not sure whether they have configured it or not. Um, okay, they have configured it. Let's see. Okay, I also have some sort of path over here, but which is also not quite clear. Okay, that's also fine. So each of the service vendor will give you some sort of a path, some sort of a information. Maybe let's see if it is in the SICF node. I mean, I know the path information, but I'm just trying to look for those. If those can be derived without even reaching out to any of your uh, service provider. Client proxy settings. Here. Uh, okay, port information is also not the place. Okay, let's just say maybe in some sort of a host file they would have done that. Path for host file in Windows. Okay, what's that? This is the one. Let's see if this file has something. Hmm. So here we see some sort of a path mentioned, out of which this is the one which is for their S4HANA server. Okay, I just got to know that maybe while I was discussing it with them. So S4H fund is the one on which they are allowing. This is a basic setup that was done in my system. Okay, so same way for any of the services, if I would like to use, I have to connect to this particular path. It's like these IP address of their configured basis system. Okay. Now, if I would like to use this, what I might also end up doing is I might end up connecting this particular S4 HANA system on my BTP account. Okay, as simple as that. So, for example, if I would like to connect to that, for that the thing that will come into picture, the one, sorry, the one which I was mentioning is a cloud connector. So I have to connect my BTP as on-premise system via cloud connector. And the moment I do that, then I'll be able to see all the system connection which I'm making. So how I can connect to a cloud connector? You can easily search for paths called how to connect to a cloud connector, and you can simply find all the relevant blogs. It will help you download any sort of a cloud connector. You can simply download it, and post which there is a path onto which it will be served, and post which it will have some sort of a default user ID and password, and you can going forward change it to whatever you would like to. And then what you will do is you will ultimately connect to that. So for example, I would like to connect to my cloud connector. I'll just, for example, close all this tab. So I can say, let's just close this browser itself, and I'll just simply open this. Okay, and here, for example, I'll just say cloud connector. Here I see 8443. That was a path that was mentioned. And here it asked me for user ID and password. So after configuration, I have changed it to something. So administrator, and maybe the password was also changed. Okay, where it is. Okay, here it is. Okay, and it allows me to connect to the cloud connector. So this cloud connector locally available is required for you to set up any of your remote systems. You can also configure it in your system if you are willing to connect your system into that. Okay, what are the next step? Post which you will add your sub account. The moment you say add sub account, it will ask you for some sort of information that you might be knowing already. It asked me for region. So as you can see, it looks for all this region which are possible. What you can do is you can simply go in your BTP account and look for that particular information. So I'll just simply go over here and I'll see which particular sub account and everything I am connected to right now. Here I'm connected to AWS US East VA. There is a region onto which I'm connected to. So you can simply say US East VA. Here I see US East VA US 10 AWS is the provider for me. So I can simply select this. Then it asks me for a sub account ID. What you can do is you can simply go over here and connect to your sub account. So this is your sub account ID. That's the same term that has been used in a BTP account as well. You can just copy this and pass it over here. Then you can simply pass your user ID and password. Okay, and you can pass your password. The moment you do that, your account will be ready for let's just say creation. So it will ultimately connect to your sub account there. Okay, that's something that you will be able to see. I have actually connected to that, so that's the reason you see over here I have added a display name as a Sumit BTP over here. Okay, someone at doorstep. Okay, now once it has been connected, what you will be able to see is before this, if you try looking at your BTP sub account destination cloud connectors, you will see inactive or not connected. Okay, not connected, maybe that's something you will see, but the moment it has been connected, you will see something like this, which is called connected, and it will ultimately show the connector ID and everything over here. Okay, so this is how the cloud connector will be connected. These are first step towards your setup. Once it has been done, the next step that you are supposed to perform over here is you have to connect to your system. The first thing we did, we connected to our cloud connector. Next thing you will do is out of your system over here, for example, you will simply go here and you will say, I would like to connect to a system which will communicate from, which will allow any sort of communication if they are happening from cloud to on-premise system. From cloud, which is a CAP, if there are certain requests which are being uh, let's just say sent to my on-premise system, I should be allowed. Or I can say I would like that to be allowed. What you can do is you can simply click on this cloud to on-premise and you can add your system. For that, you can simply click on plus. You will say whether that's an ABAP system or what. You'll just find ABAP system. Other option will be S4 HANA system and all. So for example, if there is any SAP HANA XSA or if there are certain separate server, SAP, non-SAP, all of them you can connect via cloud connector. It's not only on-premise system, you can connect to multiple systems at a time. I'll just go next. Another path is that whether you are connected to HTTP or HTTPS. So that's something you can also look for your basis person for that. It's ideally HTTP that you will connect to. Another thing that you will be asked for is an internal host. That's nothing but an IP address, right? So the one which I was pointing to over here. So the same way you can ultimately find that, okay, your particular IP address and everything, those information you will find from your basis person or a host file. So you will pass that over here. You will ask them the port number. So for example, I can say 10 dot something 124.1.29 and maybe let's just say 8030. I'll just go next. And here virtual as in how your services are actually visually looking alike. Uh, there will be some sort of a masking which each of the service call will have on top of it. So what is that particular masking? So what you will find is that particular name. So as you can see here, in my case, it has been masked as s4hfunst.com. So that's the one that we ideally use over here. Post which, if there are certain, let's just say token, authorization token that has been generated that you would like to pass on, then there should be some authorization generator as well. That ideally is activity of a BTP admin person. That's where the principal propagation is being used, where some authorization token will be generated as a part of single sign-on, the same will be passed on. Currently, we don't have that particular setup because there is a sandbox system. You can simply uncheck this and you can just simply go next and say, what is that particular thing that you would like to use while you consume this cloud connector somewhere? Whether you would like to go by the name of virtual host, which says s4hfun.st, or you would like to go by the internal host, which says 10 something something. So wherever you are sending the request, whenever you are connecting to it, what is the name that you would like to use? I'll say I'll use virtual host because it gives a more security to the my calls. Even if it has been intercepted, someone tries looking for that, they won't be able to figure out the actual IP address. Instead, they'll be able to figure out the host name only. Okay. Even in future, if I'm changing the underlying IP address, I can keep the same virtual host. I can just simply go next here next, and maybe you can just check the internal host connection and it will, you can just simply say finish. So the same way I have ultimately connected over here. You can click on this and you will say the availability. It will say reachable. Post which the important thing, the next thing that you will ideally look for is the resource path of it. Okay. So out of your service which are available, what are the services that you would like to expose? So simple, if I'm simply willing to expose my service only, right, I can simply go in SICF and you see the service path that we are talking about, API star. I'll just apply filter. And here you will find that I would have SAP OPU OData, and these are path. So these are path, whether you would like to only connect till default host, SAP, OPU, OData, which path. Or I can simply say that, okay, I'll allow everything to be connected. So I'll just allow connection starting from my very first node, which says that slash. Okay, I'll just simply go over here. Okay, what did just happen for to this one? It's not reachable. Okay, seems the system is down. Okay, let's see, maybe we'll check for this one once. Here in the path service, what you can specify is either if you are willing to connect to separate system, you can simply say slash and maybe path that path over here. So you can simply say after that slash whether you would like only that particular path to be allowed, or you want all that path, for example, slash OPU OData and all the path which are a kind of a child of it, like you would like to connect allow that particular connection as well. Then you can simply go with a OPU OData and you can say all the paths, all the sub paths which are below that should also be allowed for connection. That's something you can do. Okay, there is some short of a change, or what's happening over here. 8030 have they changed the port? It seems some bases are working on some sort of a setup change, so they would have changed something, but let's see. We'll verify from our end if there is something we can figure out, else we'll ask them as well. So these are HTTP path. I'll just go back, call this one. Okay, we have what? Okay, our Stihana 29. Okay, at least is getting loaded. So because of this particular port, as for dev ST, that was also one of them, but it's for 8021. This particular IP is different. Let's see if this is connectable. I'll just simply go here and try to add it in my cloud connector then. Okay, let's see. I'll connect to my ABAP system, HTTP protocol, the IP address and port which I see over here are this one. I'll just simply say 8021 is the port which I'm seeing over here. Internal host, which is nothing but this one. Okay, next I'll just say virtual one, which I see over here is this one. Next, I don't want to go with this. Use virtual host. Next, and I'll just check the internal host. Okay, this is reachable. It means they have changed it to this one, it seems. Okay, I'll just say add plus, and I'll say connect everything which is below this. And now I can see, okay, these also connected. S for dev, ST, and 8021. Okay, this is something which I can see getting connected to. I'll just check the availability again. Yeah, it's reachable. Maybe this is not, it seems they are changing it. Okay, now let's just verify whether we are able to get the data that we are looking for over here. What was that? A business partner. Okay, here we'll go and we'll look for a business partner, which was this one. Let's just copy this and let's see if this gives us the data. Yeah, it gives us some sort of a data. So ultimately my OData service standalone call is working. Now maybe I guess this particular call should also work via let's just say some other things as well. So what happened is I just connected to one more system because it seems they have discontinued the other path. It seems. Let's see, we'll see it practically in some time. Okay. Yes. Yeah, now I see minimize button. Now here I'll just refresh this. Okay, now I see S4 dev 8021. I also connected. That's just started appearing over here. I just added it and I can see it. Now I'll go in destinations. So cloud connector being my first step. Connect to my cloud connector. Next thing I have to do is I have to connect to my destination. I have created this destination, but let's just say if this connection is working, I doubt it will work today because the anyway cloud connector is not working. So definitely this will be down. It says backend could not be determined. Okay, then we'll create one more destination on our end. This destination ideally is used for the communication. Whenever we use that, this particular is used for the actual communication. I'll just say I would like to connect to my on-premise services, for example, on-premise SRV. Let's just call it as a short form. Earlier I have created this one. I'll just go via the authentication. So I'll just go with whether I'm connected to my internet service or on-premise. I'll just say I'm connected to my on-premise service. And I would like to go with some basic authentication because the current single sign-on activity and everything which is not available on my sandbox system. Once that's configured, you can simply go by the on-premise system principal propagation. What it allows is you are not supposed to pass user ID and passwords one to one over here because it always triggers the call based on this user only. Rather, if your single sign-on has been configured, you can simply go via principal propagation, and here you won't be prompted for user ID. Instead, whichever user is a valid user in BTP, same should also be a valid user in your on-premise system, and based on that, it will communicate. But for that, it needs some sort of a basis system setup. That's something which is not there in a sandbox. So we are going with a basic authentication. Now, for the user, I will pass my user, and let's see if that works out this time. I'll just save this. URL. Yeah, we have to pass the URL of the particular system. So what I'll do is I'll just simply say HTTP here, and maybe the one which we used somewhere in this one. Okay, I'll just simply save this. Okay, now let's just see if the connection works. Yeah, so this connection is successful. So we just created a destination. So now with this destination, I should be able to communicate to that service. The old one anyway just stopped working. So we'll focus on this particular destination and we'll try to connect to their business partner service. That's the idea. Okay. Now, next step over here is if you would like to connect to any of such a service, the idea will be that you have to include that in your project, right? So what I'll do is I'll go step by step over here. And here I'll just open my BS. And okay, yeah, here itself, I'll just create CDS in it. Let's just say BTPB for my on-premise connection. Okay, let me just open this project itself rather than having everything else. Okay, so here we created a particular project. Now what we might do is, for example, I would like to have some sort of service that I would like to consume, right? So for that, maybe let's just say, I can simply say, let's just say I have some sort of a entity, a normal entity that we are talking about. see if there is something that is going wrong. We can also keep a watch on that. I'll just simply say namespace btp.onpremise. On-premise. Okay. Let's just try to get some sort of a data over here using the aspects of it. I'll just simply say bad CUID managed. Okay, and maybe let's just say, as I was talking about, let's just say I have some orders onto which I would like to have that particular thing also. So maybe I guess we'll see. Before that, we'll also try to get the standalone data of that. Okay. So I'll just simply say, for example, I have some sort of a description of this order which I would like to create. On top of it, I might also be interested in adding some sort of a supplier. Okay, so I'll just say supplier over here. And in this supplier, maybe we would like to have some sort of a name of it, for example, or let's just say supplier ID. Okay, so supplier ID, let's just say it's of 255 characters, for example. We'll use this towards the end. Till the time, maybe we'll just keep this table as a standalone one. We won't utilize it anyway. Okay. Now, next thing is we would like to consume the remote service, right? So we are talking about an API business partner. Okay. Guys, just give me a minute. Just a minute. Okay, give me a minute. Hey, sorry guys, I'm back. Okay, perfect. So let's just resume. So we would like to connect to my API business partner. We would like to get some sort of a business partner data. Okay. Now, as we are willing to get that, we have to perform certain steps. First thing, in order for my system to understand that this API business partner that we are talking about, that's nothing but an OData service. What are the thing it has? I mean, what are the service metadata and everything, right? So two ways. There are two ways. Either if you have, let's just say, service that you are creating, which does not have, let's just say, metadata available on some sort of a API hub, you can simply download, or I can say save this file as a, let's just say, your um, XML or EDMX format and consume that. But as this is the one which is available centrally because it is available globally, you can simply say API business partner. You can just open that. You will find it on the api.sap.com, which gives you the overview of all those information. Those are there. So it says that, okay, for this particular OData service, I have, let's just say, some sort of a API specification, which might be meant for, let's just say, it might give you some sort of a EDMX data, JSON data, YML. So EDMX is a ideal preferred format of any OData service. Okay. Post which there can be certain configuration as well, saying in my project, if I would like to use that for a local tasting perspective, I can connect to this one easily. So I'll use this as well. Plus, whenever you are connected to a deployed service, you can go with this particular path. So this is one that we'll also use the moment we proceed with the deployment. So this will give us some dummy data. On top of it, this will give us the real data from my database table. Okay. So first thing, we would like to connect to that. So what we'll do is we'll try to get this particular information of my service. So for that, I might need a EDMX format of it. I'll just simply download this. It might ask me to log in. Okay, it might already log in. Yeah, it has logged me in because anyway, I had my BTP account open. I would like to get the API specification. I can download this. Downloaded something. It seems maybe I guess I had this, so it just downloaded one more version of it. Okay, so I'll just simply go over here and I'll simply say in my project here anywhere. So for example, I would like to um, have this particular service imported. So I'll just simply say upload a file, and from my downloads, I'll just proceed with this particular API business partner. Close this. Okay, let's just remove this dirty one. It does not look good. And let's just push it somewhere over here. So I can see I have one project that just got created. I have my file that just got uploaded in my project. Okay. Once it has been done, what I can simply do is I can simply proceed with the import of it. I can simply say CDS import for that particular file. I'll just simply say, okay, it's not API. Ideally, it should suggest this based on a tab. Yeah, it does, right? So the moment you specify the name, press tab. If the initials are matching, it will automatically suggest that. So I'll just simply say enter. As you can see, it says that imported this one where in the SRV external. So in the SRV, it created a folder called external, and here you see this particular thing. Okay. On top of it, it says you can use it in your CDS model like this. So if you would like to use it in your CDS model, you can use it like this. And it also added some dependency in your package.json. So in your package.json, you see it says CDS requires of kind OData v2, and it just added this particular service model, because any service name does not really give all the information what it can have, right? Instead, if you go over here, it will have all its property, address ID, anything. So any property, any entity that it has, all the service metadata can be easily imported via this. That's what you can see over here. Now I would like to connect to this. So like we were connecting to my actual new, I can say specs or new entity that we are creating. Same way you can connect to your existing one. I'll just simply say using over here. And what I would like to use is, so for example, I would like to use something from my, let's just say the moment I press dot, it suggested me that, okay, I can use something from my dot SRV external business partner. It ideally looks for a CSN folder. It's some sort of a CDS convention. Okay. What you would like to use out of this. So I'll just simply say I would like to use my API business partner. You will be able to use your service. You can name it as anything. So for example, I'll just say business partner API service, some sort of a BUPA. Okay. Now I would like to get some sort of information. Now we have created always an entity over here, right? By saying entity and then just the skeleton of it. And in the service, we have already always selected the data. Let's just go in another form. You can create an entity, but at the same point in time, if you give the data source, it won't create a data source for that then. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just simply say entity I would like to create. For example, I'll call it as a suppliers. Okay, and here I would like to get the data as projection on, and maybe here I would like to get the data from my BUPA. Dot, let's just say some sort of all the entity you see over here, the one we were able to see it in your on-premise system. I'll just say a underscore business partner, for example. Okay, and here we can say out of this particular data source, whichever would have been provided, I would like to use something. So what are those something? I'll just simply say, I would like to use my business partner. Let me just name it in my term. I'll just say ID. Okay. Another one, for example, I would like to use my business partner full name, for example, and I'll just simply say it as my full name. Okay. Another one is maybe we would like to call it as a business partner. Let's just check whether that particular partner is blocked or not. So some short of an additional information. So I'll just say is blocked. Okay. So once I have done that, I can see that, okay, it created one more entity. Two entities are there now. One entity which I can call it as, let's just say the one which I see over here in the form of orders which I created by my own. And this is the one which is connected to a service which I imported. Let's just try to watch this. So it just started serving this particular service, even though I have not created a service endpoint. If I just open it in a new tab, you will see it just started serving the whole service over here in the form of a metadata. Definitely, it won't be able to give me the data because of the relevant connection and everything missing, but at least it just started showing me it in the form of some sort of a data. So you will see as if it's serving, but it does not have anything because system does not have anything. So it serves as if it's a zero mock data. Okay, as simple as that. Now, afterward, I would like to expose this in the form of some sort of a service. So I have this SRV folder. On this SRV folder, let's just create, let's just say service. So I'll just say some sort of a consumption service.cds. Okay, so this particular consumption service.cds is here. And maybe in this one, we'll expose both the entities this time. So I'll just simply say using BTP dot, let's just say on premise as for example, BO from my data model. Okay, and here maybe we'll expose the service. So I'll just simply say consumption service. And here we'll simply say entity, and I'll simply say orders as select from my BO dot orders. Okay, and maybe another one we'll just simply call it as a suppliers as select from my BO dot suppliers. So we created a service endpoint. So now let's just say here it now started serving my service on the endpoint OData v4 consumption here, right? And here I can see the service metadata. And even if I would like to view some sort of a data, I can simply say, for example, a suppliers, if I'm looking at it looks for the data, maybe definitely it won't be able to figure that out till now because it's looking for a in-memory database over here. So it looks as if the data has been mocked and it's not available correctly. Okay, that's what it looks for. Now, in order for us to look for some sort of a actual taste data. Okay, we are currently into a sandbox system, which is something that we'll be connecting while we deploy. On top of it, this API business partner also provided us some sort of a configuration detail saying you can connect to this particular sandbox URL if you would like to get some sort of a data. That's also one of the way. Now let's just do this. Before even we proceed with all this thing, let's just ensure that we have relevant thing for our, let's just say HANA communication to work. So we are not working on an in-memory database, rather we are working on an actual system. Okay, so I'll just simply say, okay, let me just log in over here. Okay, now I'll just simply add HANA. I'll install my HANA database. I hope my HANA Cloud Central was running at that point in time. I hope it is right now as well. Yeah, it's still running. That's good. Okay. Now maybe we can just simply deploy my this particular information to HANA. Other than that, this particular information, let's see if it allows us viewing some sort of a dummy data, if it also has some, or if it's no. Yeah, so it says failed to resolve API key variable, right? So it looks for some sort of a data over here in API key. We won't be able to pass it directly here, but rather the moment we try to connect to our service directly, we'll also start getting this error. Then we have to resolve this error of an API key. So what is that? That's something we'll also see the moment we have this particular DB up and running. Okay, so maybe we'll wait for a few more minutes. So as you can see, it created something for orders over here, but it did not created anything for your suppliers. Okay. Reason being, it knows that your supplier over here is being served from someone somewhere else. So even though you did not specify it, it treats it as if it's a annotated with CDS persistent skip. Okay. So that's the reason you will never find some sort of a data being served for this one generically. Okay, so this is done. Now let's just say I would like to view some sort of data over here. Okay, so okay, now it just went ahead with no database credential provided. If I just go in orders, okay, that's the same thing. It is connected to. Okay, fine. I have to create some database credential. In that case, I'll just go over here in run configuration. I'll create a config for my BTP BOP. So idea is I'll connect to my onto my system directly, so it get the credential. I won't connect to this. Instead, I'll just connect to my HANA system. It just created some environment variable. Yeah, each time, I guess for the very first time, it always has some issue on the tile account. Yeah, let's just try doing that again. And now it just tried connecting to it. Okay, this is fine. I'll just clear this out and I'll just simply say CDS watch profile hybrid. So it just got some DB credential. Now let's just see, go back, refresh. Orders did not give us anything, but suppliers, it says could not find this one, right? Because your supplier is not a valid, let's just say tables or anything, right? You have to ultimately specify something for this because your table suppliers ideally does not have anything. And if you try to, if you expect that system will give the data for that automatically, that's not going to happen, right? Now, what you might also need in this particular case is that rather than system doing that, let's just also take the responsibility of it and let's just try to implement that. So it says, okay, your connection to it has been established and consumption.service.js is going to take the responsibility of it. So here we have to define some sort of a handler for that. So I'll just say const CDS and I'll just simply say require SAP CDS. And here I'll just implement the same over here module.exports CDS service IMPL Savi. Okay, so we'll say on attempt to read this, okay, of what? So I'll just say I have one entity over here, consumption.service. So if someone tries to read this, I'll tell you what you are supposed to return. Okay, so I'll just simply say, for example, I'm getting request, the input, and here you can simply return nothing. Let's just keep it simple for now. So it says, okay, now I am returning nothing because your service implementation says that I am not supposed to return anything. But for now it will work, but I guess that's not how it should be, right? Because we have to connect to my remote system. So what we can do is, in this particular case, is we'll just simply go in my package.json and we'll say that if your system over here is trying to connect to this OData v2 with this particular model, let's just say I might be interested in establishing two setup, one for my sandbox system, because here I have been provided a sandbox URL and one is my productive URL. So I'll say, okay, in that case, let's just simply go over here and simply say that in case it's a sandbox, maybe I can name it as anything. You can name it as anything. That's fine. The moment you edit in round bracket, this become different variants with which you would like to execute it. So I'll just simply say credentials. And in this credentials, what you will provide is some sort of a URI, which is going to serve this. Okay, so I'll just simply say this particular URL is going to serve you the purpose of providing the data. What is that? So I'll just simply say there is a URL. You can get the data from there. It should help you getting the data, whatever you would like to. I'll just save this. Okay. After doing that, I'll just simply try refreshing the suppliers again. Okay. It seems it's not complaining anything. Reason being, we have implemented it our own, and now my system is saying that I don't know who it is because you are giving the data by default as a blank, right? No, but that's not what we want to, right? Instead, we would like to get some sort of a connection to it. So what we'll do is we'll simply say you will you have to connect to that particular remote service. In order for you to do that, you can define some sort of a constant. Let's just use the same name, Bupa. You would like to connect to a service that you are consuming over here in package.json, which says this one API business partner. So you will use the same name and you will connect to it. So I'll just simply say cds.connect.to over here, but it returns what? It returns a promise. So we have to wait for the time when it gets resolved. So I'll just simply add this and I'll wait for the time when it gets resolved. So I'll just simply say await. That's the reason this function over here will become async. Okay. Once it has been done, system tries connecting to it. Okay. After it has been done, we can query something. So I'll let's just try to search for it. System tried connecting to it, but we don't know, okay, what did just happen? So I'll just simply say, okay, let's just check what the connection, what is the response of that particular connection in order for us to be really sure what's going on to the background. I'll just simply say console.log over here. And here I'll say my service over here is trying to connect to this one. Okay, I'll just simply say what this connection is providing to you. Let's just look at that. Okay, at the same point in time, this request might also be coming up with some sort of a query. So like we used to run, right? tx.run. Same way, this Bupa is nothing but your one of the transaction. So we'll try to get the response of that by what passing whatever we are receiving into the input. So I'll just simply say ls response over here and we'll run it. So I'll just simply say await. This time Bupa is your transaction because that's a remote service. So it's a remote transaction. So I'll just say bupa.run. And here we know the request would have got some sort of a query. So I'll just simply say request.query over here. I'll just pass this. It might give me some sort of a response, and that response I'm expecting to be returned over here. So I'll just simply pass this over here. And here, this is a not good identifier. I'll just simply pass this. And now let's just try to say we are planning to execute this. It says that invalid table name could not find API business partner, a business partner over here. Okay, system is not able to find this one over here somehow. Okay, what could be the reason? Ideally, it definitely would not be able to find that because it should not look for that at the first place. Instead, it should ideally install some sort of a client. Let's see if I was just trying to go by the errors. It did not give the correct error. That's one of the thing which I am not. Okay, yeah, maybe let's just say CDS watch. We are going with hybrid, right? Let's just say profile. Let's just go with sandbox this time. Okay, so in this one, I'll just go back and I'll just refresh this. And in this sandbox, okay, now I have a sandbox. So I'll just click on the supplier. Yeah, now it says could not find module as there at SAP Cloud Resilient. So sandbox, which I just provided is from this one. Okay, so I was executing it with this particular environment variable, rather I'll execute it with this particular sandbox. So it says this particular package not found, and it is part of some sort of a cloud SDK. So what you're supposed to do is you have to install one dependency. I'll just close this. I'll just simply say npm install, and there is one dependency called @SAP Cloud SDK, and there is a utility for that. Okay, so this particular Cloud SDK utility ideally helps with the required thing that you need. Plus, on top of it, there should be some HANA client as well, but which should be a cloud client. So I'll just say @SAP Cloud SDK. Like we used to have a HANA client, same way this is nothing but a HTTP client. Okay, so it just added this. Now let's just say the system that uh, gave us some error saying this particular package dependencies are not found. Let's just go over here and try to refresh this. Now it says error during connection failed, request failed with 401. It means it says you are not authorized. Now you see sometime back we tried to connect to it via a remote browser call as well by saying API business partner. It says fail to resolve key API key. Okay, both are same. It says you are not authorized, but how I can be authorized? I just passed the path. I never said, okay, what are my authorizations, right? For that, what you can do is in the sandbox system, in order for it to work, you will be able to pass some API key. You will click on this, show API key. It will show the API key. Okay. Session has expired. That's the reason. Okay, let's just reload it. Okay, log in again. I'll try to view the API key. What's the issue with the API key? There is some issue with the API key loading. Okay, no worries. Otherwise, we'll go with the real execution rather than a sandbox one. Let's see if this works out last time. It's not able to load the API key. So the idea is there should be some API key that you might pass over here, and then it might work. So here you are supposed to pass some sort of a API keys over here. Not sure. Here, these how you ideally pass it: headers, and then maybe some sort of API key. Here you ideally provide API key, and then you would be able to pass something of that sort. So for example, um, it will be some sort of a random characters, but that's something that would be given ideally by this particular button, which is not currently happening because of some issue. Okay, no worries, that's fine. So as this is not happening, maybe we'll see there is a sandbox implementation, how the real implementation will look like, because after deployment, we'll be able to see that anyway. So there is a sandbox implementation where we were trying to connect to this. The moment if I now refresh, it will again say 401 because my API key is anyway not valid. Right. So as my API key is not valid, it will say 401, which is unauthorized. That's quite clear, right? Now, if I would like to connect to some remote system, okay, I might set up another alternative over here saying I would like to now execute the things with a production. Okay. Now, in order for you to execute this with production, what you will do is you will simply again specify credentials. In this credential box, rather than specifying any, let's just say URL, you will simply specify the destination like this. What this destination will be? This destination will be that nothing but the one that you created that was connectable. Okay, so you have to check that whether the connection is working perfectly. I'll just refresh this. Okay, OPSRV. Let's just check the connection. Yeah, it's successful. Okay, so I'll just use this OPSRV as a connection destination. Okay, post which you have to specify the path of the service onto which you would like to connect. So what will be the path of the service? So this particular path will be nothing but the one that you would have used over here. This one, I'll just go over here in the SAP Gateway client, and this particular path, it says SAP OPU OData SAP. This is the path on which my service is available in SAP system. Okay, this is what you will do. So once you do that, my system will try to connect to it via this particular path. As simple as that. Okay, but mainly many a time this might not be able to, let's just say, connect to it in your local system. But let's just say if that works out, you will simply say production. Yeah, it requires a JWT binding, right? So it will need some excess UAA binding because you are trying to use a production strategy, which will need a destination to be connected. And for that, it needs some sort of authentication, right? So we have already done this thing. When we need some sort of authentication strategy also to come into play, what we used to do is we used to add a app router based authentication, right? So what we'll do is I'll just simply say that I would like to add a app router. We did it yesterday. So it added a passport, access security. These are the two things. Plus it added a access UAA app router over here in your APP folder, right? So this added certain thing that we definitely need. Now what we'll do is we'll just try to ensure that our system is up and ready for the rest of the activity. For that, let's just go one by one and try to complete the setup. I'll just simply say cd app. I'll install the required dependencies over here that we need. I'll just come back over here, and next thing we'll ensure that my service is secure. For that, we'll just go over here, and this time maybe we'll try to add the required security on my service layer. Just simply say authenticated user. Okay, next thing in my access app.json, this time we'll ultimately add the routing so that my required route and everything are in place and I can easily use that. So what are the things that we did in the last session? We'll simply add over here authentication method. Okay, I'll just simply say route. So I added authentication method as a route, and anyway, we need one more over here, which is nothing but my source. Whatever is the source, I would like to connect to my destination over here, which is nothing but my actual service destination, but I don't need the target because the target is going to be the actual call from where it has been generated. And maybe the authentication type this time, authentication type. Okay, and we'll add it as a access UAA. Same way in package.json, access UA should also have been added. So I can see a access UA has also been added over here in the authentication type. In the access app.json, okay. Many a time, if there is some spelling mistake over here, then it will fail during the deployment. So that's something we should be quite, let's just say, cautious about. Another thing over here will be the access security JSON. Right, so there is the one scope and template. Definitely, we have not defined any additional scope, so that's empty. That's quite okay. On top of it, we'll add the whitelisting like we did in the yesterday's session, OS to configuration over here. And here we'll simply say, I would like to add some sort of a credential type. and maybe I guess the authentication way that it also uses is mostly the same. So if I just go over here, authentication method, it also use the 509. That's the one that we are anyway adding into our setup, right? It also goes with a basic authentication, right? So what we'll do is we'll add the credential types over here in OAuth2 configuration. One we added in the yesterday's session called binding secret, and another one is X509. Next thing we would need over here is, okay, first is not a structure. It has more than one value. It means in the actual JSON, it should be an array. So I'll just remove this, add it as an array over here. Another one we'll need is a redirect URI. Okay, in the redirect URI, we'll pass the whitelisting URIs. What are the whitelisting URI we'll need? So I'll just go in the overview and we'll pass the one which we need. Okay, so for example, this was one of them at that point in time. CF app US 10, right? This was the path. I'll just copy this and I'll add it over here. But it can be followed by my HTTPS, and there can be anything between because a number of services can be there which would try to consume this, and there can be any service endpoint after this. Okay, and post which, in case some login redirection has been done, we'll add one more thing over here as well. So rather than this one, we'll add a specific login and callback. So these are the things that we added as a part of a whitelisting. Now let's see if we have a MTA. So we have to add an MTA over here. In the MTA YML, we found multiple things. Let's see what all things we do have. Okay, so here this time we'll see what all things we do have. So in the Node.js service, as you can see, and the dependency IC authorization, okay, which is nothing but your access UA, a database, and some sort of a destination connection. Did we added it somewhere? Yes, in the package.json, we specify a destination. That's the reason system started adding this particular destination service as well. Okay, so this particular destination service has been generated into the resources over here. You see, it generated one more destination services over here. The one which I was talking about maybe over here, that in CAP level, you will need a destination plus a connectivity service as well. So connectivity will not be added by default. You have to add it on your own. So what we'll do is I'll just simply go back over here and you have to create some sort of a connectivity service. So I'll just simply say I have all these things available on my system. I have destinations, SRV, so and so forth. Okay, we'll now need a connectivity service. So what I'll do is I'll just simply copy the destination service that I do have. So in total, we'll have 4 resources. Earlier there were 3, now I am expecting a 4th one. So this destination, maybe we can call it as a connectivity. It seems simple. It's just a connectivity, the name of it, and maybe the type of it will also be connectivity. So this one will connect to your cloud connector. This one will connect to your destination. That's the reason we have two, like we have the two, let's just say, connectors into my BTP level as well. Now this one is something I also have to add as a dependency on my service level. So which is this one. I'll just simply say name, and I'll just add this one. So now this service is also being used over here. Okay, so these are the things definitely we'll need, and we added those as well. Last try in case. No, it's not loading somehow the API key. Okay, I'll just install all the dependencies once. Okay, let's just see CDS watch profile production. Let's just try this out. Hmm. So we don't have a running instance of access UA. That's the reason it will anyway fail. That's fine. We will ultimately try to let's just say build and go with the deployment process this time. In case you don't have a sufficient space, ensure you are pushing the things into GitHub, because if the empty archive, as I mentioned earlier, it is going to take some space. So if it does not find relevant space, this your build or deployment might fail. Okay, during this particular process. Okay, so it just generated some archive file. Let's see now. I'll just simply go ahead and deploy this. Yeah, again. It's trying to create this connectivity and destination services. It might take some time, ensuring everything is available. This your cloud center, just check whether that's there or not. So that's running. OP service, which is your app router, just started. You see, app router is always a lightweight service. It always mostly wins the race. It always starts the first because these things are being executed asynchronously, all parallel to each other. It's on DB. Let's see. Yeah. You might also start getting this kind of error if the amount of space occupied in your um, dev space is being consumed quickly. Okay, so the process got finished. Let's see if we are able to connect to a remote system this time. So it has this. I'll just go in OP, which is nothing but your app router. I'll just go over here. Not found. Okay. What do we have the XSF JSON incomplete. Oh wow, it has got a welcome file. Somehow it just got missed. This one, but we don't need a welcome file because this is what it is trying to look for, and it failed. Okay, now let's just see. I'll just remove this and simply look for the path of my service rather than that. Yeah. So what happened is I think we have a welcome file mentioned over here, but we don't have a welcome file index.html anywhere, right? That's the reason system navigated over there. But then I passed this path and maybe it just worked. So let's just see if this orders, if it's does not have any data for sure, but at least it's responding. Next thing we had was suppliers. The 403. So this connection is also having some issue. What it is. Destination information. Maybe I have to get it from the party correctly. It tried connecting to this OData v4 consumption VCAP services correlation ID. There is some issue with that particular remote service connection. You see, during the remote service connection, it returned with 403. Maybe some sort of a issue is there over there. Okay, let's see if we can dig it down over here. It is. We have access UA instance. Somehow it's not connecting to it. Anyway, this OData v2 won't be connected to that particular one. It won't go via the destinations. It's not connecting to it somehow because this destination information is not correct. We have to get that information corrected. That's one. And this one, right? Welcome over here. Oh, it's expired. Let's see. Okay, let's see if I have any other account where the system is working. Okay, this is the one. Okay, this is reachable. This is what it is saying. Okay, let's just try to change the path a bit. Okay, it looks for internal is this one. 8021. Okay, let's see whether it was a virtual one only, right? This is the one which is being used, virtual, which is this one. And now if I just go over here in my BTP account here, in my cloud dev, in my cloud connector, now it has changed to this one, S4 HANA 2022-83. Okay, let's just say I'll change this one only because we have anyway consumed this. The moment you change anything, you have to again enter your password. That's one of the things you will always face while you are working on destinations. This connection is also something which seems to be successful, but let's see. I'll just simply go over here. Get this one right. I'll just simply refresh this. Yeah, now you see it just derived the suppliers. So there was some issue with that particular connections, and that's the reason the data was not the destination to that particular system. Maybe it's defined in this way. That's the reason it many times makes sense to look for your basis person to derive the information of virtual host and internal host. Now you see this particular information which you see over here. So for example, I'll just pick any random 117.100.051. I'll just go over here, try logging in into the system. ST. Where is the system open? Don't, it allows just one session. So I'll just simply go over here, BU3 add the business partner number for an customer CA, right? That's what it says. And as you can see, there is the 151 CA. So it is able to derive those information. Not only that, afterwards, for example, you see different thing which you would like to also filter upon. So for example, you are currently having different thing, out of which I'll just simply say I would like to only get top 5. So I'll just say dollar top equal to 5. All those URI operation will also work without you implementing anything, because what you did is you just tried implementing this particular, oh, my bad, this particular service, and what you are trying to pass over here is that particular query. All these query parameters are dynamically generated, and it is being passed to the service directly. So internally, it is querying your this OData service, the one which you were having on your on-premise service, but you are getting the data over here because that particular connection is established with the help of your destination and connectivity service. Getting my point? Okay.
Yes.
Uh, so what further we can do is that's one of the way of deriving the data. I have just kept the query simple because the main thing that matters over here is the how connection works. Okay. Once you have the connection working, for example, I am passing this query. Now I would have uh, advantage. So you know this bupa.run is nothing but your select.from tx.run. Yeah, right. So we have used tx.run. We can say select.from, and you can just simply pass the name of your um, a particular entity, for example, business partner. That's what we are trying to query upon. And likewise, you can just simply perform all those transactions. The moment you perform all those transactions, those will be performed on the underlying service. So you are working on a REST API in the form of an SQL. So this is what is a specialty of CAP. It allows you to connect to remote service as if it's a natively defined in your one. Be it in your database case, we never felt it as if it's synonym. Same way here also, you will never feel as if it's a remote service on an on-premise system. Now, this particular data, what you can do is the now suppliers, right? In case a query is being triggered on supplier, you will your this srv.on will be triggered. What you can do is if you would like to, let's just say, use this as a value help, you can simply go over here in the consumption and you can add a value help annotation and simply bind this particular supplier's entity over there. Because whenever a get call is getting triggered on your supplier, the ultimate path that will get executed will be this handler, and this handler is anyway going to give you anything that you request, filtering based on your query. So you are getting the data from your on-premise, but your end user will never feel as if they are working on two different systems. Okay, and it works for all of them. It's not only run, right? So I mean, if you try to, let's just say, work on any service which is having not only get operation but only also post operation, in the run itself we learned, right? I can have insert, update, delete. So same way, whatever is the query parameter containing, be it insert, update, delete, get, all those things will be executed seamlessly. Okay. Okay, so yeah, maybe I guess this sandbox execution did not work because of the API key maybe unavailable, maybe because of some sort of thing which would be going on at that point in time. Now, next step that we'll be performing maybe dedicatedly in the session that follows, mostly 10th session, last session, I mean, Saturday will be our last session, which will be the 10th session of ours. There will be consuming this particular service, creating maybe, let's say, one or two of application, deploying it on your SAP build works. And that's what we'll be planning for. Okay, and there will be creating an header and item relation. So we'll be more clear on the other concepts as well. Yeah. Anyone having any doubts, any queries till now? Yeah, Krishna, I see you unmuted earlier. Maybe then you got muted. You got any
Yeah,
doubt?
no, Sumit. For today's session, like we are connecting with like uh, ERP system and SAP log, right?
Mhm.
And cloud connector. So locally we can't do, right? This step.
Locally, as in, look, the idea
Uh,
is
in,
I
hmm,
look, this particular system is
hmm.
nowhere relevant to my BTP, right? I pick one
Yeah, yeah,
system
yeah,
and I connect it to my one. So now what you can
yeah,
do
yeah.
is in your SAP system, in whichever project that you are working on, we'll have got some SAP system. In that particular, get that particular system's information, connect it to cloud connector, create a destination, and you will be able to access your system's information via this particular cloud connector and destination. This is how generalized it is. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah,
is
yeah. Yes,
there are
sir.
no barriers to it. Um, you can try connecting to your system, and you can find the same things working in your system
But
as well.
yes, I mean, but we can't connect client information, everything, right? So
I mean, the point
mhm,
is, if you are,
mhm.
yeah, I mean, if you are allowed to, that's one, or maybe if you would like to get the server, I'll just share the number of vendors as well. If you would like to learn or try that out, you can also get the server. I guess they can provide subscription on monthly basis. I mean, we are also getting the servers based on that only. Maybe you can use that. But
Okay.
many a time many organization which I have worked on, I have also seen that other than the client server, they also have their own sandbox for their internal employee to learn, right? So you can
Yeah.
use
Yes.
those
Yes.
servers.
Yes.
They are quite open. You will also have those servers in your organization, I feel.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And Sumit, after today's
Mhm.
session, can you check like I'm not able to deploy Sumit, so
Yeah, yeah, please. Now, I mean, we are done for the content that we were planning for today.
okay.
So yeah, we
So
can just look at your issues.
Abhijit, Anil, any doubts? So may I proceed?
Yeah, you can proceed. Yeah, we are okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can proceed.
Okay, yeah. So, Abhijit, Anil, if you would like to stay, you can stay. Else, have a nice day. We'll see each other maybe in the Saturday session. Up to you.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So you're okay.
It's
This is
running.
good.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Here also,
Hmm.
this we have created this one, right? This is central one. Okay.
You can give it any name, right? But point is whether the real
Yeah.
name is
Yeah.
HDA underscore, whatever you
Mhm.
named. I hope that's correct, right? Okay.
Right.
Let's see. What is the issue that you're facing while deploying? Let's just understand that.
1 minute. 1 minute, Sumit only. Please. Sorry. 1 minute.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So just meanwhile, Sumit, I think so.
Uh-huh.
Can we use VS Code locally as well to just run all the CAPM services, or
Yeah,
it
you
has
can.
to go?
You
Okay.
can, but the only limitation with VS Code is that the database thing that, right, S4 HANA database on the procedures that you are
Database.
using. Those
Yes.
are the thing that you won't have in your VS Code. For that, you will have SQLite database. So you can
Got it.
download SQLite database. You can work with that, but the HDB thing, HDB procedures
Mm.
and all those won't work. You can check out
Won't
all
work.
the CAP functionality for sure.
Got it. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Sumit. Sorry. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, please.
Hmm.
So, okay,
So
your service instance will not be bound to this because of binding parameter. Now, if you just scroll up to the in the errors, it just maximize your console. I mean, expand the size of it. Let's just see what are the things which are failing. Okay, scroll down, keep on going down. We will not be bound application binding parameter. Okay, that's fine, fine. No, no, these all not be rebound is not an error. It means that service is already available and they don't need a rebinding. Scroll down. It will say a error keyword specifically with service failed. That's what I just am willing to look at. Gone. Executing deploy on this one. Server SRV gone. Started. Finished. It says finished. Where it failed.
uh 1 minute, but uh,
Your
here,
DB
right?
service.
Like.
Look, one
Mhm.
thing you would have observed, your service will always be in a running mode, whereas your DB will always be in a stop mode. Now
Okay.
here, what you are saying, I didn't get your point.
So 1 minute.
This is your
I
DB.
want
Your
to show
DB
that.
will be in a stop mode. You
Mhm.
would like to view the data. You just go in the service binding, add it in your this one. Go in your service binding. No, no, no. Wait, there only, there only. Click on the service binding, copy the JSON, add in your HANA Explorer. You will see those things there.
Yeah, but I have already. Yeah. So. Uh.
Huh? What's the doubt? What is your doubt?
Okay. So
Look,
it's
I see
deployed.
your
Okay.
service is
Okay.
getting
Yes.
deployed. Okay,
Okay,
your
okay, okay.
service
So
is
then,
getting deployed. Now you have to
mhm.
do the transactions. There are two ways. Either you can go in a database explorer. In your database explorer, add this data container, you will see all the synonyms and everything created. It means your deployment worked perfectly. Post which, if you would like to
Okay.
perform some operations, you can perform it via Postman or any other
So after
endpoint, right?
deployment, how, Sumit, how I can check like my
Mhm.
services, everything,
How can you show me your package.json?
package order. Yeah.
Okay, you are also going with a basic authentication, right? So can you click on the service in your this one? Go back in your yeah, service account. Click on that particular dev and open the service which was running relevant to this one. SRV. Click on that. Click on the URL.
This one.
Uh, Click on the metadata, for example. Yeah, that one also.
Okay.
Yeah, you see that working, right?
Right. So here, like if I will add any field, okay, suppose that on that day, okay, here,
Hmm.
here, this is last
Hmm.
name I have added,
Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
and in this
But
one,
is that last
yeah,
name available in your centralized container?
no, no, here not available, no.
Can you show me?
Yeah, 1 minute.
In your view, you are connected to view, right? Let's just look at the fields of the
Right.
view.
So
Okay.
this is the view
Okay,
only,
yeah, it does not have last name, right? So if you add the
last
last
name.
name at during your build and deployment, it will fail because if you see in your yeah, go
Okay,
back in your gen component, generated component, you see in your
generated.
just above the empty archive.
Okay, this one.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
go in your SRC. Okay, yeah, gen DB
Jan DB. Okay.
SRC. Okay, now for the this one, right? For the central employee, it would have created this particular synonym, and if you just expand this gen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is your name of this one? Central employee. It has just generated
Central.
this employee service as a view. For your entity, it has not generated anything, but rather in your this one synonym.
Mm-hmm.
In your synonym, it would have connected your synonym. Now it will try to query the information from there. It does not know anyone else. This is a service.
Okay, okay, from here, right?
Employees, yeah, it will try to query
Mm.
that, but the point is, it does. Yeah, these now currently it's looking for what? Currently it's looking for only the field that you have, which are luckily available in your centralized
Uh,
database. Now, if you try adding
Centralized
one more
database.
field, this select query is going
Mm-hmm.
to fail, right?
Okay, okay. We can check like
You can
1 minute.
add it. Sorry.
Yeah, 1 minute. No, I'm adding. Okay,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah, just say CDS deploy double dash to HANA. Clear this out. Yeah, enter.
We need to
CDS.
build, right? We
Just
need
say
to build or
CDS. No, no, wait. CDS
CDS.
deploy space double hyphen to space HANA. Enter. Scroll up. Scroll up. Yeah, this ultimately in local it won't work. You have to build and deploy. This remote
Mhm.
connection are somewhere. I mean, somehow this particular accounts are not behaving the way expected. Yeah, you can build and deploy, but okay, scroll up once again. Scroll, keep on scrolling. Did it generated certain component? It said scroll up. Keep on going. Go on. You will see the Jan components list, right? Scroll up. Scroll up. Yeah, there. Scroll up. Central employee, what it has is this view right now. If you open that view that we
Mm.
were looking at earlier, this one, right? The
Okay,
one which is anyway open on your
right,
last
right,
tab.
right.
Scroll down. it will try to look for this. So at any point in time, maybe if it, I mean, to my sense, it should anyway fail during the point of your deployment itself. But if somehow it passed during your selection, the moment your get call is
Mhm.
getting triggered, it's going to cry, because definitely this particular last name field is not available in your synonym from where you are trying to query it.
Yeah.
It's as
So
good as you are trying to select a column which is not there.
yeah, but we okay on read time, right? We are saying
Just build and deploy.
okay.
I mean, look, the thing is, there is no way it can anyway work, right? So it's going to fail.
Mhm.
The point is, at what point SAP is going to give it. Don't. Okay, yeah, build. Don't delete. Okay, empty archive got generated. Just deploy this. Oh, why? Okay, you have a temporary file anyway available. So your build stop sometime in between. This empty
No,
OP, that's a
okay.
junk file.
This one.
No, the one which is under your empty archive folder, the another folder that should not be there. That's a junk file. Okay, let
May
it
I
be.
delete this? Okay.
I mean, let it be for now. I mean, this file ideally gets
Mhm.
auto cleanup cleaned up
Okay.
automatically the moment your archive file gets generated. They are the intermediate file.
Okay.
I think your execute deploy of your deployer will fail, which will ultimately show the log in your DB service instance, which might say that the last name is not a property in your remote container. But let's see.
Okay.
This should fail. It failed, right? It says
Yeah,
processing
it's failed.
error. Nice. And now if you just go
Mhm.
back to the error log of your DB, it will say
Mhm.
exactly that last name. This is your
May
service.
refresh. May refresh
No, no,
this one,
just
right?
no. Just go back to the just click on dev, open your
Okay.
DB, and it
Uh,
will start showing that error. It's an auto refresh mode. Logs on the left. Yeah, scroll down. No, no, yeah, that's also fine. Invalid column. You see the second option, second one.
yes. Okay.
Okay.
Last. Yeah.
I mean, the
Mm.
technology leader who would have built whole technology definitely would have thought of one column, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the like whatever we have given in central HANA database, okay, so okay, we can
Mhm.
use only those field, right?
That's the meaning of exist. That this exists.
Yeah,
If you are
yeah. And if we want to add, then we need to add in like HANA database, right?
exactly, yeah, add over there,
Yeah.
deploy it over there, then only you will be able to use it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And Sumit, and last class we are not able to download that file, right?
Yeah, that was the issue on a local run. Yeah, I guess thanks for
The
pointing
local
that
runner,
out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I just did I just deployed that service and maybe it's working now.
Okay. Okay.
Simply,
Yes, Sumit, then.
maybe you can try that out, or if you want, I can also show you. That's also fine.
Okay. Okay.
It
So,
is in the
so Sumit,
application
only we have two classes, right?
one.
One only.
Yeah, one. We have 10
But
sessions in total. In
yeah.
next session, we'll have a Fiori application that we'll be developing, and post
Mhm.
that we'll be deploying that particular Fiori application onto the tile.
Yeah, and you told also like we will create one like application end to end, like everything.
Yeah, that's the thing, no? So the one when we say I'll create a Fiori application, definitely it will be end to end, right? I'll create a service, we'll have those annotations, so definitely it will generate your backend.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you will do is you will, like we are creating app router, you will create a service. We'll create an application.
Service.
The moment
Yeah.
we create an application, a Fiori application will be generated, post which we'll deploy
Mm-hmm.
it, and will ultimately make it available in your build launchpad. So that,
Yeah, and
uh
Sumit, we need to like read also no dollar sale for that one, that concept.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing now. So ultimately, when I create, when I'm creating an application with item and
Mhm.
header, dollar self is
Okay, yeah,
nothing
yeah,
but in
yeah.
the terms
Then
of
yeah, yeah.
association, right? Then it will work.
Association, yes, yes.
So the idea is if I teach you just the keyword, then you won't be able to understand if I have a use case, right? So that's the reason with the Fury application, we'll cover that. So you are able to understand why that is actually needed.
Mm.
Understood?
Okay, 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 Sumit.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. So I think that particular thing, maybe you can just try downloading. It will work because it worked for me, and I guess there is no issue in the code. But the point is that maybe that local trial
Local, yeah.
environment
Okay.
library had some issue. That's the
Mhm.
reason it never did. Maybe I can also show
Okay,
you. Yesterday I
okay.
downloaded the one which just got downloaded. Here is the one. Right, my
Mm-hmm.
taste PDF. This just got downloaded yesterday at around 2 p.m. That's what I just tried out, and it worked.
Okay, okay,
Okay,
Sumit.
without any code change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, try out. If that doesn't work, let me know.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so just
Thank you.
one last thing, just
Mhm.
regarding the applications like which are building using CDS or CAPM or
Mhm.
freestyle in terms of UI5. So,
Mhm.
what is the current approach right now? Like here in non-SAP, we usually design a UI UX through some Figma design or something like that. So, is it kind of same thing is happening here as well for the approach
Yes.
uh,
So you are talking
to
about the mockup.
mock-up? Yes, yes, yes.
So mockup are ideally there were two ways. People used to use Figma many places, and they are still using it. Other than that, the one which can also reward your experience and maybe the effort is people just started using your build. SAP
Mm,
build, right? So what it will give you is you can design your UI, and maybe for customer pitching or let just a sales thing, you can just show that okay, this is how it is going to work, which is nothing but a dumb UI, which will just show the transaction. This is how it works. Once you have win that particular project, the same particular build projects are ideally consumed in a UI because build ideally generates some code also internally that you can directly consume in your Fiori. You are
okay.
talking about a mockup. So these are how the mockups are working. Plus many a time people also, if there are certain complex thing which definitely would not be designed in that way, then people also just generate a image kind of a thing, but that's the last option. Working wise, people always prefer Figma plus SAP build for that.
Yeah, I think I just want a list. I think so. If next class, if you can provide it or somewhere a link, a small or mid-sized project which we can just try it out as a freestyle and definitely as a SAP application that with the CDS view itself actually. So that was the only
Mm.
concern. Like
You
if you
okay,
just
you want a
suggest a
problem
topic,
statement which you can try
yes,
out. Okay, yeah,
correct,
sure.
correct. Yeah,
I'll
something
I'll,
like
I'll
that.
share you guys one, and in return, what I'll expect is the moment you have tried out, just let's just say share a recording of it to the group. So let's see, we'll see how it went, and in case you guys are stuck, we can help us out each other.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Sure,
Thank you.
I'll share the problem statement. No
Yeah, yeah,
worries.
sure. Thank you.
Okay, then. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Uh,
Yes, Sumit.
have a nice remaining weekend. Bye bye.
Bye.